Bienvenue, benvenuti, and welcome to Expatriotical, the podcast for expats, travelers, and other adventurous souls. I'm Chandra Ali, and after living as an expat with my husband and 4 children in 2 different countries for 6 years, I've learned the arts of pivoting during pitfalls, traveling tastefully for less, and soaking in amazing new cultures without losing your own. Join me as we dive into the joys and challenges of travel and the expat life in every episode. Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a good week so far. And as I left you with a cliffhanger last week in the first part of my interview with Heather Dawes, I won't make this intro section too long, and I'm not even going to recap it. But I will say that if you have not listened to last week's episode, stop listening to this one right now and go back to that one. You need to listen to that one first in order to lay the ground and have context for the amazing rest of this story. Okay, guys, without further ado, here is the next part of my wonderful conversation with my friend Heather. Okay, so now we'll jump back into the relationship part of like your new part-time dream job is canceled. Your actual job is canceled, and you're in a long-distance relationship that you can possibly see this person every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So what were your next steps? Like, what did you do?
Okay, so we meet in April. The car accident happens in May. June, July, August were quite difficult months. A lot of physiotherapy and a lot of just hanging around, hoping to get better.
Yeah.
Dan was visiting, so so we were still dating and enjoying our time together. It was just kind of like a little bit more mellow than maybe what we had originally thought it would be. We weren't flying around the world. And then so September, and I think my parents were like, Heather, I think you need, my mom, I remember my mom calling and she was like, Heather, I think you need to go to Scotland and meet his parents.
Okay.
And I was like, oh. And my mom was like, yeah.
Oh.
I think that this is happening.
Okay.
And you need to go meet his parents. So we planned. Now I'm trying. I should know the math. I should know the timeline. So I think I flew there in October.
Okay.
It was cold. Very cold. And I met his family. His mom and dad were so sweet and so kind. They are. And I met his sister. She took me, she kind of drove me around her town and the countryside. And Scotland is so different. It's so beautiful. And yes. I don't know. It's magical. And then we went to Edinburgh for a really nice weekend. Yeah. And I got to see that side of Dan. He is Scottish because I was only ever seeing him in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got to see that part. And And then I think, by December, positive pregnancy test.
There you go. And so from there, now, and I wrote this down. I'm like, is this sexist of me to ask? When did Dan pop the question? But I was like, wait, what if Heather asked him? What we should, we've got this new one in our group. So how did that happen?
So at Christmas we announce to family, hey, I'm pregnant. And everyone, again, they could see it. They could see that this was, how are we going to do it? We're living on separate continents.
Yeah.
We haven't lived together yet.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go? I had never imagined myself leaving Canada. I am a total homebody. I love living close to my parents. I love flying home. I mean, my holidays, were in the fall going hunting with my dad, in the summer going, swimming in the lake. I love being home. And Dan wanted to move to Canada.
Okay.
That was part of his intentions of, taking all these holidays and coming and skiing and hiking in Canada. Like he wanted to become Canadian eventually. But with me, not well. Mm-hmm. And then now pregnant, the reasonable and only way to do this was for me to move to Scotland.
Yeah.
And Dan could switch his job to take an onshore, like an office job.
Okay.
Just kind of steady the ship. Let's just
because you might need him around.
Yeah. I mean,
a baby.
So we started planning that, and in January he proposed, and which actually, it was a surprise. Like, I mean, we were already together forever.
Yeah. You're connected now. You're connected.
But yeah, he proposed, and it was so exciting and so sweet, and everything just, I don't know, that time in my life, like I could see it I was looking at me
from above,
and I was like, this chapter is happiness. Everything is clicking. Everything, even though I don't plan anything. It was perfect. It was exactly what I would have wanted it to be.
So, okay. So number one, I just have to say that, like, what a positive, you can't see Heather. We'll get some pictures of her for the Instagram so that you can see what a ray of sunshine she is. But that just is her personality. That's just how it exudes. And I just love that you're able to, you had a really severe sickness where you were hospitalized and had a car accident on your second round of dates, let's say, because of how the international might work. And you're like, and it was just perfect and happiness. And so just learning to look at life, like, even when you get thrown major curveballs at like, there's good things, in a lot of it. So he proposes in January. And when was the wedding?
So he proposes, he goes back onshore for another, offshore for another 3 weeks. So he's at work. And remember, so, Dan will be like, this is one of my greatest achievements in bureaucracy, where project management planning, because he had to get a visa, or we had to, but we all know who's doing the forms in this relationship.
It's Dan, if you didn't catch the sarcasm. Okay.
Yeah, the life admin is his role. So he had to start. We had to start somewhere, and to get me into the UK, we need a marriage certificate. Mm-hmm. There was so much documentation, like immigration and visa and all that process is not easy. That's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other morning.
Yeah,
because I'm already going off here. This is going to be a long one.
It's great. No, we might do this in 2 parts. It's good because it's so fascinating. I'm just listening to it as a spectator, outside of this, and I'm like, this is so fascinating. Okay,
it's a lot. Going. It's a lot. So so we're like, okay, well, there's only so many times that he's with me, and we can do this paperwork. So in January, the end of January, and 2 weeks in February, he is on a drill rig in the North Sea. And we're applying, we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm having to, okay, well, where are we going to get married? We're going to get married in Canada. I can't fly over there. We're going to get married in Canada. Okay, I'm booking that. At a civil...
like a civil union.
Yeah. And then passports, I got to change my name. Then I've got to apply to get over there. So, and then you have to actually pay for healthcare before you get to the UK, because remember, I'm arriving 7 months pregnant and going straight to the hospital.
You haven't paid into it.
Yeah, so they sort of need that. So then we go. So then when he's back in February, we have a sneaky civil wedding that no one's going to really know about. And then our wedding we're going to have in April.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, well, what date? And so we met April 8th, 2016, and we got married April 8th, 2017.
Oh, again, chills.
Oh,
that's so sweet.
And
I love it.
where are we going to get married? Oh, I don't know. Okay. And then I'm speaking with my brother and he's like, why don't you come to Revelstoke? You both love it.
Okay.
And there was a heli skiing lodge that was available for those 2 weeks because it was like the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, yeah, for sure. Like, we can host a wedding. We do host weddings in the summer, but yeah, we're free. So we're like, okay, perfect. And then I think in March, we drove to Revelstoke. So this is a month before our wedding. And we were like, okay, we need food.
Our guests might want to eat.
And then I remember we were at the baker and she was like, okay, so we'll do this cake and we'll have like some little, cute little cupcakes. Like what color, she's all this. And then she was like, hey, do you have any music planned? And we just looked at each other. We're like, oh yeah, music. And she's like, I know this band. Like I could just call them up and they played at our wedding. And I was like, yeah, give them a call. Hadn't even heard these guys. And I was like, Dan, if it's terrible, we'll just turn on Spotify. Like, who cares? They were amazing. We all danced till like
late into the night.
Mm-hmm. They were great. And it all just came together. That's awesome. And yeah, after the wedding, I went up to my parents. Like I had already packed up my house. Well, I had a lot of help packing up my house. I physically couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
And then Dan went back to work, and I just waited at my parents' place for this visa. And you don't know when it's going to arrive. Okay. And so there was a lot of stress, like time is ticking, belly is growing.
Because what was your due date?
August.
Okay.
And it was May. Okay. And then Dan flew over in May on his days off. We knew that a package arrived for me from the passport office. Okay. We didn't know if the visa was in the passport.
Got it. Okay.
We had booked a flight for that day, but we could cancel it. So we flew down to Calgary. We went to the DHL. We opened the package. We have a video of it. And I opened up the passport and there was a visa. Oh. So we drove over to the airport and got on a flight with my 6 suitcases and my big belly.
That is crazy.
And we moved. I moved.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, the chills is just ridiculous. Okay. I love that story. Okay. I want to rewind just a smidge and just ask you, what was your favorite moment of your wedding? There's so many, right? But like, did you have a particular one where you're like, this was just the best?
I'm actually quite shy.
You don't have to share it
for that. No. I mean, like shy as in like a big wedding. Really, I couldn't picture myself having a big wedding. Yeah. Like the first dance or like coming down the aisle, and that really just kind of spooked me. So we had about 36 guests, our like best friends and immediate family, and I'm sort of someone like if I'm sort of emotional, I kind of just like am quiet and I almost want to like
withdraw a
little bit and or just sort of like speed it along. Like, can we just fast forward this? And I remember my mom coming in before the ceremony started and she got a little bit teary-eyed because our wedding was also a goodbye party. All of my best friends were there and they knew like once this wedding was over, I was getting on an airplane.
Yeah.
And my mom, I just remember her holding my hand and she was just like, she started getting teary and I didn't want to cry. And I was like, no. And she was like, Heather, let me just have this moment.
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful.
And then, like 5 minutes later, so yeah, I'm already like kind of teary. And then 5 minutes later, my dad and I were gonna like walk down to where the ceremony is on this balcony, like big, beautiful balcony, looking up into the mountains. And I was like, okay, let's go. And he was like, he just like held my hand and he was like, just give me a minute.
Oh gosh. That's good. I almost want to cry. That's really good. I'm imagining all of this because because we're friends and our kids are friends. Like I've seen some of the photos from your wedding, and Dan wore a kilt.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
A couple guys wore kilts.
Yeah. And it just sounds like such a beautiful, like putting a pin in it, like this is perfect.
It was us. And I think and a lot of our friends and my sister and my brother were like, that wedding was so you.
Oh,
it was so us. It was just it was small. It was intimate. It was not casual because, we had the ingredients were all there.
Things.
We did the things that, you do at a wedding, but it was just very, I don't know, organic. It was just kind of it just flowed. There was no wedding planner. We were just,
just going with it.
Yeah. And everyone really pitched in for the celebration too. I have to say that everyone really brought themselves, and it was a genuine let's make this a moment. Let's
love.
make this. Yeah. It was a beautiful wedding, a beautiful send off, I guess.
I love that. I really, really love. There's so many practical things that if I went back as an analyst of so when you're in a romantic relationship with somebody that lives on a different continent, these are little things that you can, as far as, I'm not going to do that, but I just think people listening can really draw this, that your wedding can be a very special moment and a send off and just a wonderful celebration. It's supposed to be a celebration anyways, but there's just so many wonderful key things from your story.
It was an ending.
Yeah.
And
a beginning.
And a beginning, and which every marriage is.
Yes. But
this had geographical consequences.
Yeah, exactly. For Chris and I, our geographical consequence did not involve an ocean, but we did move over 1,000 miles away. And it, there was definitely, I think there's a different kind of tears shed there, by parents, by everybody versus, and this is no disrespect to if you get married and you stay in your hometown, great. But if you get married and you move far, far away, it's just different, you know, it's a different kind of celebration. So, once you were married, how did things change? Sometimes for some people they don't change, but meaning, did you feel like you were just normal newlyweds and things changed because now you're living together, or was there kind of an extra factor because now you're an expat and you're living somewhere else?
Okay, yeah. So arriving heavily pregnant into Scotland, there were a couple things that probably, the environment definitely impacted our relationship, of course. So I arrived pregnant and still really hurting from that car accident. So my upper back and my neck were just constantly aggravating me. And pregnancy is already super comfortable. So I had never experienced heartburn. It was terrible. But so the relationship had that extra layer of, and we were moving to his home country. Maybe it would have been different if we had moved to somewhere totally different for both of us, a fresh start for both of us. But, and it was a going back for Dan. He had not lived in Scotland for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we were moving to his house. We had to rent a house.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So he had been, if you don't mind me asking, had he been 3 weeks offshore and then 3 weeks doing whatever he wanted?
Yeah. Oh, okay, he was living the bachelor life.
Okay, so he didn't necessarily have a home base.
No.
Okay, so this is, even though it's his home country, it's new for him too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish he was here right now because, if he were here right now, he'd be like, yeah, it wasn't easy for him to go back home. It's like a chapter that had already been over for him.
Okay.
He had never really, he is just someone that wants to move and live around the world.
See the world. Yeah.
He's done Scotland. I think he would just say that. He's done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up there. He did what he wanted to do, So it was tough for him, and I know that. And I remember like feeling that and trying, hard to support. It was hard. And then for me, he was just very, very caring. So kind of everything that he did when we arrived was, setting up physio, setting up massages, setting up midwife appointments and doctor's appointments. And he was already doing all the admin. Now it was like double because he knew how to set up the electricity and the gas for the the house. And all of that logistics like really fell on him. Like we had to go down to Glasgow and buy a car, and I really couldn't help him. And he just sort of took it on himself because he felt like not guilt, but like responsibility. Like I just moved my wife to Northeast Scotland, and she's gonna have a baby in the Aberdeen maternity hospital, and
so I should maybe get the electricity to the house.
Yeah, and set up those massages. So that did show me in our relationship how sweet and caring again that he was for me. He felt really like this is up to me. Yeah. And every weekend, even though he would drive, we'd go to like Inverness or go up to the North Coast, and he would drive me around to like really beautiful places in Scotland to sort of be like, it is pretty here. Yeah. It's not just cold and rainy. Like it really is.
It's really nice.
It's really nice. Yeah. And yeah, like he didn't have to do that. He was busy with a new job and at work and everything else that was going on. But he was like, no, we also should just take the opportunity. We don't know how long we're going to be here in Scotland. We were visiting lots of his friends and family and going to all these beautiful places. And it was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's fast forward. You moved in, was it May that you? No.
End of May
that you
2017.
moved. Okay. And let's fast forward to August.
August 1st.
And a little bundle of joy arrived.
Little man arrives.
And so now you guys are, 15 months, 16 months into like knowing each other, relationship, marriage, all this stuff. And so now you're first-time parents, a very new expat. Like what was your new rhythm that you kind of found there in Scotland? I mean, or did you find a rhythm?
You know what? Maybe not at that time because I did not realize that I was an expat yet.
Okay. What did it feel like to you then? What did it feel like?
I just felt like the term expat was not on my radar at this point. And I thought because the two countries spoke English, that there wasn't going to be much of a cultural difference. Okay. And because my grandparents on my mom's side come from Scottish heritage, like I said, Nova Scotia is quite, influenced by Scottish and Irish culture. So I just really didn't expect there to be, I don't know, like a shift, like a cultural shift, but there was. Okay. And so I just sometimes felt, and the language was a barrier. Okay. Like there are terms or words that you sort of hear and you're like, wow, that doesn't sound nice. And then it doesn't mean that I thought it meant. I don't want to say, I just hadn't found my rhythm. I didn't know that I was an expat until probably the second year. Okay. And one of Dan's colleagues was like, oh, my wife is also Canadian. And does Heather go to the Canadian American women's group of Aberdeen? And Dan's like, no. And then her and I got in touch with each other. And she was like, oh, come next Tuesday or something like that. And we do a monthly meeting. And I remember I was really nervous. to go.
Because you're the only one. You're new, right?
Yeah, I'm new. And I was shy to go. And I remember like driving down this country road because we lived outside of the city. And I remember like driving down this country road, totally lost on the wrong side of the road. Well, the left side. No. What?
The left side is correct for them.
For them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was on the correct side for them, but the wrong side for me.
You. Yeah, because you're like,
It was confusing.
Yeah.
And when you have like baby brain. Anyway, I made it. And I remember walking into the, it's kind of like maybe it's like a hotel, or like a reception room.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. And all of a sudden I heard it. I was like, oh my God, I'm home. Because all the women's voices were like so much higher, and their inflection raises at the end of a sentence. And I was like, this is me. There was a lot. Yeah, I was just like, okay. And just the way that we speak to each other, we smile a lot, we agree a lot, to sort of let each other know, like, we're in a positive conversation with each other. Like, let's keep talking. I'm enjoying this. Where, other
cultures don't do that. You don't get that feedback.
Yes.
Necessarily.
So I was like, okay, wow. And then I started like meeting other women and see, like, my eyes really opened up to, I'm also an expat.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was confirming that.
That's really cool. So now let's fast forward. What year was that?
2018 or 2019? 2019, yeah. Oh, no, I don't know if I was pregnant yet with Sadie.
Okay.
When I met them.
So basically you, baby number one came, I don't know, came in August 2017. And then fast forward however long, there was baby number two. So
23 months later,
it's baby number two. And then there was another big shift for you guys because, I mean, you moved, correct?
Yeah. While I was, the second pregnancy was, now when did we sort of, right away, I mean, I guess, so the first year we were in Scotland, we were just there. Mm-hmm. We were just surviving.
Yeah.
And happily surviving.
But yes.
In the country. Yeah. But just kind of thinking like, this isn't for us. Okay. I wasn't really I thought that I wasn't fitting in. Okay. But so Dan had put a request, like, I'd like to go international again. Okay. He had already done that. He had spent 4 years in Norway. Oh, and and so he was like, that was a normal progression for him. So he's like, I want to go international again. Like, where could we go? Mm-hmm. And so then I'm pregnant. And I think, maybe usually January, February, that's when the job postings start. Mm-hmm. And France had come up. And we were ready. We were like, let's do this. And it was easier, I think, because I'm not from Scotland. He's okay to leave. And we were free to make that decision. We don't have any other sort of family ties that's holding us back. Like, I do this every month. There's no ties. There's no
there's no strings that had to be cut.
Yes. So we were just like, let's do this, it'll be fun. And hey, we can always quit. And that's like a really big thing. Like, hey, we can always just get off at a bus stop and go home. Figure out a new path.
This theme, I could also drop you off at a bus stop.
I mean,
you can change your mind. That's a beautiful thing.
We could change our mind. We could go to France and not like it and quit and go buy an acreage and start a farm. Like, we'll be fine. Yeah. We already knew in our relationship, whatever we choose, we'll be fine together. It was like, we're good. We'll just figure it out. So we put this out. We thought we were going to the south of France because that's sort of where Dan's team normally goes. Okay. And then Paris. Okay. That scared us a little bit. Also because at the time that we found that out, I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So one of the like questions was, oh my gosh, where am I having this baby?
And at this point, I actually can't remember if you had her here or there.
Well, I really wanted to get on the plane and have her in France because I had heard that the healthcare
was really good.
But it didn't work out and normally expats move in the summer, like in July, August. But because we did have a child in school, we didn't move until September. So I did have her in Scotland, and it was a good experience.
Good.
Second time around, and so that's another podcast.
I know, right?
So the last couple months of that pregnancy was also, I just like felt like I did have that time to just like, sit around and write in a journal, like, oh, what a beautiful transition, this moment is. It's just like, we were packing, we were, donating it was a lot, making lists, the whole visa stuff again. And I remember like one thing was my driver's license. In Scotland, I was okay to drive with a Canadian license.
Really?
But just before we moved to France, Dad was like, I need that Canadian license. I'm switching it to a UK driver's license because I'm the one that's doing the paperwork and I want us to be the same.
Okay.
And I was like, don't you take my Alberta driver's license away from me. I worked very hard for this. And Dad was like, I'm sorry. Like, I need that.
Yeah.
So I swapped it for a UK driver's license. We moved to France. And one of the first things was like, if I would have kept that Canadian driver's license, I would have been in driving school.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Dad was like, you would not have passed that.
No. And by the way, for everybody, like Heather speaks French very well. So it's not that. It's not just that she has no comprehension of the language. It's just yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again, Dan.
Yeah.
Save the day.
Dan the man, the admin man.
I love it. Okay. So then you get here in September, new baby, and then that's September 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah. So with a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old.
And then let's fast forward, let's say 5 months, and then it's COVID. And we won't go into that whole thing.
No, we shouldn't do that.
We're not going to. That's a whole other, like I have that as a list. But just to say that this international romance has been through a lot. Like it's been through a lot. It's weathered some storms, and I've learned a lot just listening myself. And so I kind of want to ask you some other questions that I typically ask all of my guests, but because this is going to be airing during the holidays, I wanted to put so for some of the questions, kind of like fun Christmassy holiday themes, but not for all of them. Okay, so this one has nothing to do with Christmas. What advice would you give someone that has met somebody and there's definitely a connection, but that somebody does not live in the same country as them? What would you tell them if they wanted to pursue a serious relationship?
Ooh, well, this would have different answers from different people. So again, how I sort of build my decisions will be quite intuitive.
Yeah.
Based on, experience, but with people, but that will be very hard because I don't want to sort of, relationship advice is like, oh God.
You don't want to tell somebody to just go for it when it might not be the right one.
Well, let's say you need to trust someone in that, like even now, we're coming up to a move, and maybe Dan will have some influence on that location. Dan has either lived or has traveled to these locations. I have not.
Okay.
And I trust him that he will know what I need from that location.
Yeah.
Like a great school, safe, healthcare, you know, all those. And I mean, freedom, like to whatever. To exist, but I have to trust him, and I really do trust that he will make sure that our family is safe and happy. Because maybe this is very long relationship advice. I'm sorry if I'm
kind of eating it up, and I'm listening.
Yeah, I think because if your partner didn't really know you that well, I don't know if you could do this.
Yeah.
And advice that I could give or share, or how we are doing this together, is we talk maybe at least once a week on our goals, our thoughts, our dreams of how we are moving around the world with our children, with our family.
That's a lot.
I think so.
And that's not a degradation, but I'm like, wow, you are very intentional.
Yeah, we are very intentional with this because we have different experiences in schools, in the school systems. We have different experiences and expectations for maybe family traditions. Our cultures can be different. So yeah, we are constantly sort of tuning our energy together so that we're synchronizing, so that when Dan is making, you know, let's say like if he does have an influence on where his team will be, we're already in sync. We're thinking the same, and we bring different viewpoints still to the table. You know, he'll say one thing, you know, okay, da-da-da-da-da, about this country, and I'll be like, yeah, but da-da-da-da. We evaluate it.
Yeah.
And we're both, it's like, it is really cool, and I don't know if you have this chance, if every marriage has this chance, if you're sort of coming from the same, maybe, background.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that, like, I wouldn't say that Chris and I talk about it every week. Maybe we should be more intentional, but we do talk about it. It pops into like, what do you think? And it evolves too for us. Yeah. Like places that I said absolutely no way to 5 years ago. Now I'm like, oh yeah, we could totally go there, you know? And so keeping those lines of communication open and kind of constantly checking back in with each other so that, like you said, because we are the CIP or the expat partner, we're not the one that signs our name on the line. But when you're doing that, and then, you know, the expat spouse and then the employee spouse, I should say, knows what the partner wants and knows, you know what I'm saying? He or she can go in and be like, yeah, that's not going to work for us, you know, or that's perfect, you know, whatever it may be. So I really like that. Just having that trust and that continued communication. They're really, if it's somebody that has a potential, if we're putting it out as relationship advice, if you will, I think it's just really good advice in general, but, making sure that this is somebody that you trust and you feel, I think there is intuition with it. Like, just so relationships cannot be completely analytical, like, you know what I'm saying? And so, someone you can trust and somebody that you can just communicate with openly both ways. So,
and being being open to seeing both sides.
Both sides, exactly. Both sides being open, which
two sides, and then now we've made 3.
Right.
Because we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, you're right. It's evolving.
It continues to evolve, and there's kids, and there's, you know, all the things once you know, have those, but have them. But anyway, okay, continuing on. Now going into more of the things. What is your favorite thing about being an expat?
It's a similar response to being a flight attendant, because when you are an expat and you find your expat network,
your group,
your circle, your
circle.
group, your crew, you realize that a lot of the people around you have similar ideas, but are also very inspiring. And when we all start sharing what we're doing, oh, that's what you're planning, oh, that's what you're thinking, oh, that you live there, and it was cool, it was good,
yes,
oh,
yes.
Okay, that's opening up another part of my brain that I might now. That's okay, like that's a possibility. Like if this cool person that I respect and I see as like a great parent and like great in the community, and she had a good experience there, okay, like this is new. And then I go home and I start talking to Dan, and it's just like, I think the people that you can find in this network, that's who it is.
It's kind of a treasure. Like those relationships, and they're just,
and the connections that you're making, and you're going to have this, either just maybe you're just going to learn something from someone and move that around the world with you, or maybe you're going to stay connected, and that's a friendship that will last for many years, because again, it's like we have this experience.
Yeah.
And it'll just continue to grow. So that friendship like continues. I don't know. Yeah. It's just the people.
The people are pretty great.
And may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Part B is the relationship with my husband and the kids, because it's just us. Yeah. It's like we're this little like molecule floating around the world together, and we just get so much time together. And I think especially while they're young, I really hope that they're happy. Yeah. They look back on this.
They're very happy.
And I really hope that they look back on this and they're like, wow, like our mom and dad did that. They took us here. They did that. Okay. Like, and they look back and they're proud of us that we took that chance, and we were, just sort of, let's do it. Let's go for it.
You wanted to show them the world. Yeah. I love that. No, thank you for adding part B. I really liked it. Okay. My next question is, this is the holiday themed one. Because it's the holiday season, can you please tell us your favorite Christmas or holiday memory as an expat?
Yeah. So we, again, we're on our own. So like we, favorite Christmas, because in 2019, we decided not to travel home, thinking, we've only been here for 3 months. What could the world, we'll just go next year.
Yeah.
And we had a really, cute, quiet Christmas, the 4 of us. And then there was like 2 sort of, years where we didn't travel, but we have started like a tradition of going to the Alps, and we go skiing in Val d'Isère, and this has really become just a beautiful place for us. And we're like, should we go somewhere else? And I mean, we have gone to different mountain resorts in February or like April, like we have, but there's just something about Val d'Isère for us. And when we ask the kids, where should we go for Christmas, they're not saying Hawaii or South Africa or Canada or Scotland. They're saying Val d'Isère.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah. So it's their they see Christmas connected to Val d'Isère. And we just rent a flat, and we get bundled up, lots of hot chocolates, I think like 2 or 3 a day. So that's, and I'm happy. I mean, as a Canadian who grew up in the mountains, I am super happy,
of course,
to be in the snow for Christmas. And so that's become our holiday tradition, or our favorite holidays have definitely been, skiing together.
That's awesome. I love it. We still haven't been skiing yet, and we're working on it, and it's always trying to like solidify where to go. And I mean, skiing in France, excuse me. But yeah. Okay. So my final question is there anything else, any last thoughts, words of wisdom, or words of encouragement that you'd like to share with us today? And you've shared so much. So you can be like, I think I've run dry.
Like we should, like maybe, I don't know what I haven't said. Okay. Words of wisdom. No, I'm not wise yet. I need a couple more years under my belt for that. But words of encouragement. Okay. So do you think that people listening to this are already expats, or they're thinking about becoming an expat? Maybe the choice is upon them?
There's a lot of already expats, but I really hope that as people share this, that it will go to the I'm thinking about it.
Oh, I would have searched you.
Yeah. So
6 years ago, I would have searched for this exact podcast for you.
Let's hope it gets out there, because it wouldn't be nice to hear stuff of like, okay, I can do this, or ooh, I don't know, Anyways.
No, and you can. Like the word, okay, the encouraging words or the message is, you can go. Trust yourself, trust your partner, or you can be an expat
by yourself
on your own.
Absolutely.
And I think if it's sort of in your view, there's a reason for it. And if it's been floating around, this is an idea that you've had for a while, guess what? You need to do it.
You should do it.
You got to do it.
Those ideas that keep popping back in there.
Yeah. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going. And I think, find your people, find your network, find other expats. It's great. I've made super amazing local friends as well, which is really, that took some time.
It speaks a lot of you, just so you know.
It took some time to crack in to the neighborhood. But yeah, if you're thinking about it, you need to do it, because if all else, if you want to turn back, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to go home, you can. Yeah. If you want to, jump off the ride and catch a bus home, you can.
I love it. This bus theme is really solid for me right now.
Especially because I've never taken a bus. Yeah. I talk a lot about buses, but I don't know why. I love it.
Again, I hated to cut off our conversation there, but it felt like such a great way to cap off part 2 of a fabulous conversation with Heather Dawes. There is a little bit more, and that will be featured in a bonus episode where we talk about building community and how important that is as an expat. So stay tuned for that. And for our quote of the day, you guys, I absolutely loved and was really digging and feeling the bus theme. So to paraphrase Heather, in life and as an expat, don't be afraid to try, because you can always jump off the ride and take a bus home. Thank you so much to my friend Heather. I know that you'll be listening, and I really, truly appreciate this wonderful conversation that was all centered around love. And speaking of love, I want to do something a little bit different today instead of a Shan Select. I have another friend who was one of the first expats, if not the first expat I ever met when I became an expat. And she too had an international love story. I met her when we first moved into our house in Italy. I was with Chris and my mother-in-law and baby Caleb, and we were in the local market in our small town, and we were searching for maple syrup, walking up and down the aisles, talking loudly, I'm sure, because we're Americans and that's what we do, especially me, I'm the loudest. And I heard a voice in an American accent say, "Hi, I'm Dawn. Are you new here? I can show you where the maple syrup is." We looked up to see a beautiful, tall woman with a smile that radiated from ear to ear. She led us to the syrup, which was nowhere near where I would have guessed it to be, and welcomed us to the town and to Italy. She would later become a dear friend that I got to know better through a weekly Bible study, and someone who, whenever I had the chance to go back to Italy, I always got to see. So I would like to dedicate this episode to my dear friend Dawn, who wasn't afraid to reach out, to be a friend, and to love everyone around her. Ci vediamo dopo, carissima Dawn, con il nostro Salvatore Gesù. That's it for today, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, especially if you're listening during the Christmas or holiday season, I wish you love, hope, and peace and precious time with all of those that you dearly love. I'll see you back here again next week. And until then, this is Chandra Ali reminding you to live and travel in the know with Expatriotical.